The story of westward expansion is a very big part of United States history. For many people, it is a tale of great hope and endless opportunity. For others, however, it is a tale of profound loss and deep sorrow. This essay will look at both sides of this important story. It will explore the powerful ideas that pushed a nation westward. It will describe what life was like for the people who made the journey, and it will examine the true and lasting costs of this great migration, helping us to understand its complex and often contradictory legacy. The period of westward expansion, which largely took place in the 19th century, fundamentally reshaped the American continent. It saw the United States grow from a collection of eastern states into a nation that stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. It was about an idea. It was driven by the belief that a better life was waiting just over the horizon. People from all walks of life were drawn to the promise of the West, hoping to build something new for themselves and their families. This journey into the vast, unknown territories was filled with immense challenges. The landscape itself was an unforgiving opponent, and the daily struggle for survival was a constant reality. Yet this very struggle helped to create a powerful national identity, one built on ideas of strength, independence, resilience. This essay will not shy away from the harsh truths of this era. It will show the courage of the settlers, but it will also acknowledge the immense suffering that this expansion caused for the native peoples who already called these lands home. Life on the American frontier was incredibly hard. The romantic image of the heroic pioneer often hides the grim reality of daily survival. The land itself was often wild and unforgiving. New settlers faced extreme weather conditions that they were not prepared for. Bitterly cold winters that could freeze people in simple homes, violent thunderstorms, tornadoes, dust storms. Just staying alive from one season to the next was a major achievement for many families. The daily work was relentless and physically demanding. Settlers had to build their own homes from whatever materials they could find. They had to clear the land of rocks. They had to clear trees before planting. Farming was done almost entirely by hand with simple tools. They had to hunt for food, mend their own clothes, make or repair their own tools. There was no one to call for help. Sickness and injury were common, with no doctors nearby. One of the most important laws that encouraged westward movement was the Homestead Act, passed in 1862. This law offered free land to people willing to move west to live on it and to farm it. An individual or family could claim 160 acres to gain ownership, build a home, make improvements, and live there for 5 years. This was an incredible opportunity. The promise of free land motivated many. For millions in the eastern states and in Europe, owning land was an impossible dream. The Homestead Act made that dream possible. It gave poor farmers, factory workers, newly arrived immigrants a chance to own land. All they had to do, make the long journey west and work hard. Hundreds of thousands of families moved west. They poured into Kansas, Nebraska, the Dakotas, changing the land and population. But the act didn't work for everyone. It had limits, and its promise wasn't equally available. The law was open to women and immigrants, yet often excluded African Americans and Native Americans in practice. Unfair rules, prejudice, and abuse meant much of the best land ended up with the wealthy, not small farmers. The arrival of the railroads had a massive transformative effect on the American West. Before the trains, travel was slow, dangerous, and expensive. Suddenly the journey west could be made in a matter of days, faster, safer, and cheaper. That rapid connection was crucial for settling the vast interior of the country. The railroads did more than move people. They created a national economy, moving crops and cattle east and goods west. Railroad towns became hubs of commerce and activity, attracting businesses, workers, and new settlers. They recruited people from around the world, including many Chinese and Irish immigrants. Building the lines was destructive to the environment and often cut through Native American lands. Workers faced brutal conditions, low pay, and extreme danger. Railroad companies controlled vast tracts of land, set prices, and wielded immense political influence. That power often hurt small farmers and led to widespread corruption. A sad and deeply important part of the story of westward expansion is the conflict with Native Americans. For thousands of years before the arrival of European settlers, the continent was home to hundreds of distinct native peoples. They had complex societies, diverse languages, and ways of life intricately connected to the land. When settlers pushed west in large numbers, contact and competition became inevitable. As more settlers arrived, hungry for land, conflicts became inevitable. The government pursued removal through treaties that were often broken, pushing native peoples onto smaller reservations. Poor lands, destroyed bison herds, and disease brought widespread suffering and starvation. Tribes fought desperately to defend their lands. The result was too often defeat and forced removal. Forced assimilation took children from families, forbade languages and traditions, and sought to erase native identity. This history is now widely recognized as a dark and tragic chapter. Westward expansion brought tremendous economic growth to the United States. Rich soils created an agricultural powerhouse. Mountains yielded gold, silver, and copper, fueling industry. Forests provided timber, new industries and jobs emerged. The American dream grew stronger, yet many who did the hardest work saw the least reward. Immigrant laborers, miners, and poor farmers often lived lives of hardship. The greatest cost was borne by native peoples, who lost their lands, resources, and way of life. The nation's wealth was, in many ways, built upon their dispossession. Over time, the frontier became a myth centered on the rugged individual, the lone hero. Frederick Jackson Turner argued the frontier shaped a practical, inventive, independent character. The myth is inspiring, but the reality depended on cooperation and community. Families, neighbors, towns, and government policies underpinned survival and success.